by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I feel like I can do it all. You know, I did so much when I was at Buffalo, whether if it was, you know, catching deep balls or, you know, lead blocking through the C gap. I mean, I feel like I'm very versatile and can, you know, play any type of game that needs to be played, whichever week.
There's Allen taken to the right, going to the end zone. And who else? Gabe Davis with the touchdown catch on the opening drive.
You know, I think it's going to go very well. And, you know, I plan to have a long career. You know, I think I got a good 5 or 6 more years in me, so I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
I done did it before, going to teams and didn't really have it all the way together. Then, like, every year it's a new head coach and stuff, and you got to deal with just that every year. But, like, I know this team, you know, is moving forward, moving up.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith,
Demetrius Harvey,
and Dylan Denmark.
Every time. You are a cold man, Dylan Denmark. Right there, a cold man. Yes, we heard from Gabe Davis, now a former Jaguar, Eric Armstead. Maybe missing in action last year at times, Tony. And Ronald Darby right there in the open.
I think a more cynical person than me, I'm not cynical enough for this,
okay,
right?
but
I think a more cynical person than me would think that Dylan's trying to send a message to everyone that you're getting too hyped about this offseason in light of what happened last offseason.
Maybe, or we're not getting hyped enough because we've got a brand new set of eyes that are correcting the mistakes of the past. By the way, good morning, Demetrius Harvey. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing
Welcome
all right.
in. When Eric Armstead said I have 5 or 6 more good seasons left in me, does that mean Jag fans can look forward to 5 or 6 more good seasons? Because we haven't gotten one of those used up yet, right? We still got 5 or 6 left in the tank,
Hey,
right?
man, I mean, that's what he said. So
That's
I
what
mean,
he said.
It does make sense. You know, I feel like last year you can kind of cast that aside for Eric. You know, I feel like it's not too fair, but
I understand.
At the same time,
we kid. It's gallows humor. Right?
Whose call was it? Do we know yet? Whose call? Why was he playing where he was playing? I feel like, and this is not something that I'm saying is actually what happened. I feel as though Ryan Nielsen, because he also made guys like Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen gain some weight, it makes sense that he would want a bigger end, like Eric Armstead, you know, in his mind to play end. So to me, that's what they had envisioned for him.
Did you envision when we worked out that today would work for you to come in that the first question from Tony would be, so why didn't Eric Armstead play inside last year? Like, my goodness, man. We were rolling back the clock. So, yes, Gabe Davis was released this morning by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, Demetrius, this is an indictment, obviously, of what they think he can do for this football team or bring to the locker room because, you know, Tony and I have talked about it. We talked about it before the show this morning. When Liam Cohen was asked, who are your other weapons? He went to Parker Washington and De'Ami Brown and, you know, after Brian Thomas Jr. and obviously now Travis Hunter in the mix. Never mentioned the name Gabe Davis, and some suggested, well, you know, it's just first names that popped into his mind. I think these guys are pretty smart, this new crew, and pretty intentional with what they say.
And I think it is telling for guys like Liam. I mean, these guys are obsessive. They know every player on the roster. They look at them every single day. The fact that he did not mention Gabe, the fact that he wasn't even front of mind, even if for a second you can say, okay, maybe he just forgot. The fact that he would forget was telling to me, and so that's why, you know, we started talking about maybe Gabe Davis doesn't fit in this offense. Maybe there's something that they're thinking about. Maybe he's still hurt, which I do know that he's not completely recovered from that knee surgery yet. You know, he had just had it. I think it was in November or December. So, you know, there are mitigating factors against this, and I do feel like, you know, now that they have release him, it sort of makes sense, you know, why they talk about De'Ami Brown, why they talk about Brenton Strange a lot more. You know, they don't necessarily think that they need this guy to sort of complete their wide receiver group.
And I do think, too, you know, they are new. Like, it's a new GM and a new head coach, at least new in the positions that they're in. They've never been involved in this part of the process before, but they've been in the process somehow, you know, in all these different times, different areas. And I see Gabe Davis being released, and I think back, and this quote has been bouncing around in my head since Liam Cohen said it, right? At the draft press conference, the luncheon, when he was asked about what he's learned so far in the process and that kind of thing, the first thing he said when he was asked about that was special teams matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was the first thing he said. And he said it almost with a smile. And now Gabe Davis is being let go. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now.
How would he be active on game day?
Right. Like, he can't play special teams or doesn't play special teams. How is he on the roster? Like, the only way we saw for him to be on the roster was, well, I don't know if they'll bite the bullet on $15 million. Right. Like, that was the only reason he was going to be here was that, and that apparently wasn't enough.
That was something that I thought would be a reason why he would maybe last this year at least. You know, he could come in as a reserve kind of guy. Yeah, you would be overpaying for that position, but then you wouldn't lose. You know, you wouldn't necessarily lose value on that. But now that they've done it, it kind of makes sense. I mean, where was he going to play? De'Ami Brown was going to play over him. Travis Hunter is going to play over him. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play over him. So at this point, it does just make sense.
Yeah, and if they designate him a post-June 1st cut, which we don't know, but if they do, they won't take any cap hit this year. I don't know, though, what's the better option because what do you do? You got $27 million in cap space. You don't need that to function during the season. Even when you go out and you sign a guy because he's a street free agent, that's usually NFL veteran minimum kind of deal. So they don't have to have that space. It'll be interesting to see how they utilize it, but it will forever be a mystery. And we were saying earlier, if Joshua Palmer had not signed with the Bills this offseason, I would bet you a nickel that he'd be right back in Buffalo by this afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, in Buffalo, he averaged between 15.7 and 17.4 yards a catch every year for 4 years and scored 27 touchdowns in that time period. Had a 98 league's longest touchdown in 2022. 98 yards. You can't be slow and have a 98-yard touchdown.
No, you really can't. So it's not like this guy was just, a terrible wide receiver from the onset. When they signed him, a lot of people were excited. I thought that, they could get more downfield with him. I didn't view him maybe in the same vein as everyone else did, or maybe not everybody else, but just some people viewed him more as a field stretcher, somebody who's fast, who can get down the field. To me, he is a guy who can get down the field, but he's more of a big body guy who's out muscling players or who can improvise very well. Because one thing that he did with Buffalo was him and Josh Allen had some sort of telekinetic powers between each other, because every time it seemed like Josh was in trouble and scrambling, Gabe Davis is wide open for a touchdown or something. And I think that was proven in that playoff game where he had, I think, 3 or 4 touchdowns. But yeah, it just didn't work out the same way here in Jacksonville. I just don't think he fit.
How necessary do you think that kind of player is in an NFL offense, right? To have the rebounder, that kind of player in your pass game. And if it's not going to be Gabe Davis, and that's obviously not going to be Gabe Davis for the Jaguars this year, who would fit that bill?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important. You have to have a safety valve. The Jaguars have had that over the past couple of years with obviously Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram for Trevor Lawrence, especially Ingram in the 2023 season where he had 114 catches. I know a lot of that was sort of manufactured and just by default, but it is something to say, when you have a tight end or a player that can get out, get open, get that 5 yards and sort of call it a day. I do think that Brenton Strange is a guy that they've talked about a lot, and he's somebody that will probably operate in that area where he's going to be the underneath guy who probably isn't going to catch a lot of downfield passes, but he's going to catch that stuff underneath that will allow Trevor to sort of be bailed out. And then obviously with the running backs, they're going to have to use them a lot more. Presuming they keep
At least 5. Do you have a favorite for that 5th spot now? Joshua Cephas, Austin Trammell, Luis Reese-Zammit, right? Their international guy. Chandler Brayboy, who, they've got some names on here, Tony. Obviously, some of them are undrafted free agents, but Cephas and Trammell would seem to be the two most intriguing right off the rip.
Yeah, those are the guys who have been in the NFL and have done things. Trammell, actually, I believe, and I might be wrong, I think he played for the Rams for a certain period of time.
Good question.
And that might have coincided. Yes. Okay, then that might have coincided with Liam Cohen. I don't know, but at that point, in my opinion, it's going to come down to special teams. You're going to be looking for a guy who's going to be able to return kicks. I know De'Ami Brown can do some of that, but if you want to use him more on offense, maybe you go a different direction. So right now it's fully open. I don't know anything too much about these undrafted free agent wide receivers. We're going to see more about them this weekend. and then we'll just move from there. But yeah, that fifth wide receiver spot is going to be interesting to look at, and it'll probably come down to special teams.
Yeah, he was in with the Rams. I got the thumbs up from Dylan. This is how much trust I put in young Dylan. He just gave me a thumbs up. I'm like, yep, absolutely, play for the Rams.
Must be true.
He was right.
I do love where the fifth, sixth wide receiver spot on an NFL roster. They got to play special teams, and they got to play more than one special teams in general. They got to be a special teams player, kind of thing. That doesn't make the fan base any less frustrated for the last 4 years when we all talked about Tim Jones and what he offered the team on. It's like I can almost feel the fan base when we have these conversations cringe, right? Like, oh, special teams guy. Like, it's hard to push that kind of thing.
I understand that angst, and I'll say this about Tim Jones. Obviously he's a really good special teams player, but the downside, the big downside with him was whenever he was on the field, they were running the football. I mean, there was almost no time, besides the time when, the Jaguars lost all their receivers in one game and he had to play. Almost every single time that Tim was on the field, they were running the football because he's a good blocker and they didn't care, I guess, for the tell. So that was something where I do think that this new regime wouldn't just necessarily have a player who's only special teams. He needs to be able to, just in case. I mean, you might lose De'Ami Brown, you might lose Brian Thomas in a game, and now, you do have to rely on Tim Jones or a player like Tim Jones.
You made an interesting point because, the NFL news of the morning still, I hate to break it to you, it's still George Pickens being traded from Pittsburgh to Dallas. Yeah, I think it is. But you made the point that, with the timing of it, they could have done this move immediately after the draft if they wanted to. They knew what their evaluation was. Once they got their undrafted free agent class in, maybe they were trying to move him. I don't know. Like, I haven't looked because we weren't anticipating it. I haven't looked into the salary cap ramifications of the team taking him on or whatever the case may be. But anyway, Jags making their own news this morning. Gabe Davis is now a former Jacksonville Jaguar. That happened just about 30 minutes ago. We've got Demetrius Harvey in from the Florida Times-Union. I guess Wednesday is Florida Times-Union Day around these parts now, Tony, at least for the last couple weeks. It has been. So we've got a lot of your questions from yesterday when we asked you what are your 5 biggest issues still facing the Jacksonville Jaguars or unresolved questions. We'll pass a lot of those along to Demetrius, but if you have a specific one you'd like us to ask Demetrius today, hit us up in a variety of ways. 641-1010 on the Checkmate Coding phone lines. Also on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at that same number. YouTube virtual studio chat is open for business. You can see our lovely smiling faces in that venue and post thoughts and questions there. And also on social media at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, at Demetrius82, and at 1010XL Denmark.
With that, game on.
Game over for some, at least in Jacksonville. So, you know what? Maybe we know, Tony, why this passing offense wasn't any good last year. Apparently the new guys didn't think anybody was worth keeping around. So bye-bye Evan Ingram, bye-bye Christian Kirk, and bye-bye Gabe Davis. Perhaps all for different reasons, but you get the idea in the big picture. So we've got Demetrius for the entire show. Today we'll hit on a wealth of Jaguar topics, including the wide receiver core now that Gabe Davis has departed. So let's get into it. You're listening to Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. The Drill.
Whatever this is, what is this?
What is this?
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Come on, man. This is entertainment.
Weekday mornings on 1010XL.
Exactly. You know it.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Chelsea here from Renewal by Anderson. Before you invite family and friends over for summer fun, treat yourself and your home to new windows and doors from Renewal by Anderson. Renewal by Anderson has a great deal to get you started. We're excited to offer our Window of Opportunity Savings Event. Buy 2 windows or patio doors and get the third 60% off. Plus 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 12 months. Restrictions apply. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation today. License number CGC 1527613.
Spring has sprung, and so have the bugs. It's Hayes Carline and my friends at Kingfish Pest Control offer an exclusive $99 spring special. That's right, your initial pest control service is just $99. And if you call today, they'll include a free one-time mosquito treatment. Kingfish Pest Control is family-owned, 5-star rated with no binding contracts and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Call them now to book your service. Only at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on 1010XL. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
AC's broke, it ain't no joke. Call Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. FloridaHomeAC.com.
New year, new club. This is Joe C., and I'm proud to be a member of Southampton. And with the popularity of golf, getting a tee time is tough. But with membership comes member privileges. Enjoy clubhouse dining, expanded practice area, focusing on all parts of your game. And right now, you can join with an annual commitment and get a $1,000 discount, plus $500 of Pro Shop credit. All the details are online at golfsouthampton.com or call 287-PLAY and make a tee time today at the Golf Club of Southampton.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoor Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
This is Corona Premier. It's the light beer you didn't know was a light beer. Until right. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now, Corona Premier, an unexpectedly light beer.
Corona Premier, a light beer with just 90 calories and 2.6 grams of carbs. The premier side of life. For those that are active and on the go, pick some up the next time you're heading out to enjoy the day under the sun. Corona Premier, an unexpectedly light beer.
Need cash? Peaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash, and they're ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. And gold market prices are at a record high. Get cash on the spot at Peaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women.
With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
Celebrate Mom with a unique experience this Mother's Day at Wick, a candle bar. Make her own custom candle with over 90 fragrances at Wick, a candle bar in San Marco and Jacks Beach.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
We got our man Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union in studio here with us. Deep post-draft decompression over with now. You ready to ramp back up, or are you still kind of in that phase?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe a little bit in that phase, still trying to figure things out and try to get, transition to the next phase. But no, yeah, I'm now, at least I can write about stuff. I can talk about things. We know what they've done. We know what they've built. We know kind of the general path they want to take, and now we get to go see them on the field on Saturday. So exactly.
See you out there, bud. I'm looking forward to that. Who doesn't want to go see Travis Hunter? Apologies to all the rest of the rookies. Come on. I want to see Travis Hunter. I want to see Basil Tootin. I want to see LaKent Allen. I like guys with the ball in their hand and, looking quick. All right, let's get to the lines. We got some calls rolling in for you early today at 641-1010 on the Checkmate Coatings phone lines. We'll start with James on the south side this morning. James, you're on Jaguars Today. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
Excellent. What's up?
All the off-season leading up to the draft and to this point, all I went on was the reason I was assured that Gabe Davis would be on the opening day roster was because of the salary cap implications. Have it changed? Is the Jaguars still going to take a huge salary cap hit? Thank y'all for taking the call.
Yeah, you got it, James. I was absolutely dead wrong about that, Demetrius. I thought there's no way they'd take – why would you take a $20 million cap hit to not have somebody versus paying him $6 million and actually maybe getting some benefit out of him? But the cap is not real money. It's money that you could potentially spend. But, you'll either one of two things. Either they're going to take – a $20 million cap hit this year, which is $14 million more. I'm roughly, there's, it's this not exact figures, but roughly $20 million as opposed to $6 million. So they'll lose $14 million in cap space, which would knock them down to $13 million. Or they designate them as a post-June 1st cut, in which case they actually save about $800,000 against the cap this year, but they push that cap hit into the future. So it will depend on what their budget is, I guess, looking forward.
Yeah, it's all accounting at the end of the day. It depends on what they think that they're going to be spending this money on this year, as it continues, and then obviously into next year if they want to roll it over. We don't know exactly how they designated it. We don't know if it was a failed physical. We don't know if there was some sort of other designation that they wanted to go ahead and apply. We don't know if it was post-June 1st. So to your point or to your question, I do think that at this point, if a guy isn't part of your plans and the amount that they talked about ecosystem and, intangibly rich and all the different buzzwords that are genuinely, what they feel, I do think that at this point, it makes sense to just go ahead and say, hey, Gabe, you can go find a new team before camps, and we're just going to go ahead and release you now. I think that they don't really care too much. If this isn't a post-June 1st cut, and even if it is, they don't really care too much about the money here. It's just more about, do we want this player in the locker room? Do we think that we're going to use him at all? And, we talked about the special teams or the lack thereof earlier. And so I think the answer is obviously no.
This, though, to me, doesn't feel like just purely a football move. It does feel like more of an ecosystem move that you're talking about, because otherwise, why not bring him into camp?
Right.
You can still make this move post-June 1st, right, in training camp, and if you wanted to, but they had determined that he's just not going to be a part of our future here in Jacksonville, so why delay the inevitable?
Exactly, and we don't know what Gabe Davis's camp has said to the Jaguars. No. Maybe he went in and said, hey, I
think you're not going to use me.
Right, I want a new environment.
I don't want to be a game day inactive,
exactly.
Who knows? Right? Gabe Davis is 26 years old.
Right.
Just turned 26. Gabe Davis has, if he, gets back to his Buffalo form, he's got another decade in the league.
Right.
It bombed here. There's no two ways about it. I mean, man, how bad was the ecosystem?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it was Gabe's fault but here's a very successful player in the role he was asked to fulfill, and given the opportunity to maybe do a little bit more. And I get it. Injuries are a part of it and inconsistency at quarterback. And there are all kinds of factors that go into it. But
it was just it was just a situation where last year was so dysfunctional in terms of consistency, of messaging, of, locker room buy-in. I know that the story goes that, the Jaguars, the locker room wasn't lost by Doug Peterson. But to me, if you're getting to week 6 and you're talking about, we need to figure out the culture and we need to know what our identity is, the locker room has to be lost because it comes from the players. The players are the ones who really bring the identity of the team, really bring the culture, or they at least continue to establish it. And I think that that's what this new regime is trying to do. They're trying to bring in players that they believe will help establish whatever their culture wants to be and then move forward from that. It's not just wins and losses. It's also how you react to both of those things.
We'll get to a lot of those guys they brought in with you throughout the course of the next hour and a half. But next up, we go to Steve in Melbourne, who's got a question for you. Steve, you're on Jaguars Today. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, D. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Tony.
What's up, man?
Morning. I got 2 questions for you, D. One, do you think the Jags might shop out ETN before the trade deadline? I really think that might go in that direction. He's on his last year. You drafted 2 running backs. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And 2, do you expect Wyatt Milum to beat out Cleveland for that? Because they've already replaced 2/3 of the interior where most of the issue was last year. Trevor never had a pocket to step into.
Yeah, no, I do feel like, and I wrote this in one of my mock drafts when I had the Jaguars taking Genty, that, Travis could be a guy, that sort of is shipped out in the final year of his deal. When they drafted Tootin and they drafted the other running back, I kind of looked at it like, how are you going to keep all 4 guys? And then obviously Keelan Robinson is also on the roster. So it's
Keelan Robinson needs to take 2 to the house in training camp, buddy. In preseason.
Listen,
he
he's
really
there.
does.
He's there. He's just like the other rookies. But no, it is a more stacked running back room. If you think about it, it's a situation where they're going to have to decide, who is going to be the bell cow or who is going to lead the committee that they're going to sort of establish. So I do think that depending on how Tootin looks, ETN could be on the hot seat, just in the simple fact of, hey, is this a guy that we're going to re-sign? Why not try to recoup some value right now? And I would do it depending on how Tootin looks, depending on how Tank Bigsby especially looks in pass protection. But otherwise, I wouldn't have any problems with it. And then to the second question, I think Wyatt Milum is interesting because, he hasn't necessarily played, or he has, but he hasn't necessarily played full time at guard, right? So you don't necessarily know how that will translate. I know everyone projects him to be a really good guard at the next level. He was obviously a pretty sound tackle at West Virginia. And so I do feel like there is a situation where he could earn reps, but I think that, if you're talking about Ezra Cleveland right now, he's the veteran. He's the guy who's going to come in and still be the starter. I do think that down the road this season, even, you could see Wyatt Milum sort of take over that role.
Does Ezra Cleveland play the style that they want their offensive lineman to play?
That's the big question. I do know. Okay, so one of the styles, or some of the traits that they will look for is somebody who's physical and nasty, and guys who finish block,
guys who drive people off the ball, right?
Yes. They want powerful players. Ezra Cleveland is a very athletic guy. He could move. Does he drive people off blocks? I do think that we saw some of that last year. At times I thought Ezra was the best offensive lineman. It's not a super high bar just because of how they played as a whole, but I did think that he played solidly at times, and so I could see a situation where again they roll with Ezra, and then Wyatt sort of builds up over time, and you sort of have that as the future.
Here's a tweet from Mitch Morse within the last minute.
Oh.
In regards to Gabe Davis. Absolute tone setter in the locker room and on the field. Perfect culture guy. Played hurt all last year. Didn't complain about it once. Having a tough time wrapping my head around this one. Now, obviously, they were teammates in Buffalo, so he probably has a particular affinity for him. But find that interesting.
Listen, to his point, to Mitch's point, Gabe was hurt all year. There was not a single time. I think in training camp was when it really was obvious he was hurt. He had the sleeve on his leg. He was not getting all the reps. He never got healthy throughout the entire year, and then obviously it culminated in his season-ending injury. I think it was a meniscus, and that's one of the worst ones you can get. So to his point, there are mitigating circumstances. If Gabe didn't complain, that's great. If he was good in the locker room, that's good. But yeah, it's just the Jags probably felt it was time to move on.
Yeah, so, maybe we'll get more details on it, and we'll see how the Jags designate this release, Tony, as the day plays out here.
Look, I think, talking about culture and what the Jaguars culture is or the one they're trying to create, I think, for a group of guys that are coming in talking about intangibles, right, and focusing so much on I don't think anything in professional sports is more intangible than a winning culture. Right? Like, there is no one button you push and, that's how that works. Like, everyone has to figure it out their own way with whatever group of options they have, right? And the evidence of that is the last 3 years here. 2022, the culture was fine. Yeah. The culture was great, right? And for the first half of 2023, it was fantastic. They were playing for the 1 seed in the AFC halfway through that season. Yeah. Well, they don't win again. Basically, for the rest of the year, they missed the playoffs, and then last year happens the way that it happens. The culture was okay, good in 20, and then it turned bad. Why? They lost. That's what turns cultures in the NFL. It's, are you winning or are you losing? That's basically the bottom line.
Yeah, and I think it's not only the winning or losing, it's also just how you react. I mean, look at how they reacted after their collapse in 2023. It was almost like, oh wow, I guess we're bad. That was the feeling that I got, heading into that locker room during the end of 2023, and then also as we entered 2024, and after that first loss to the Dolphins and how they lost, it was so reminiscent to the times that they lost in 2023 that it felt like that just carried over.
Here we go again.
Yep.
Oh, that was, what a gut wrencher that was.
There's no here we go again that can happen in 25 because it is all so new. It just means you better achieve some kind of victory somewhere early, right? So that you can push the culture that you're trying to get it in place, but you have to achieve something early to get everyone confident in
Carolina week 1, Tony. Let's go, baby. Absolutely. Come on. All right. Demetrius Harvey, Florida Times-Union in studio with us. Got a lot more to get to beyond Gabe Davis. Let's dig into that rookie class. We'll take your questions as they come in as well on the Checkmate Coatings phone lines. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Demetrius Harvey, and Dylan Denmark here with you on Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. I get to look out those beautiful Pella windows every single day because I went and upgraded my home a few years ago. Yeah, I needed to. I had a broken window, but I decided to go and replace all the windows in my house and the sliding glass door with the best in the business. That's Pella. Right now, you can do the same with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 60 months, 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
It's Awaken 180 Weight Loss Wednesday
on Jaguars Today. Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
Now he's going to run. It's a draw. He's across the 5 and into the end zone. Touchdown.
I'm Mark Brunell on 1010XL,
home of the Jaguars.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler, and this Mother's Day, we'd like to help you celebrate Mom with up to 40% off our entire inventory. GIA-certified natural diamonds and lab-grown diamonds, beautiful colored gemstones, designer brands, custom jewelry design, and Monahan Jewelers offers interest-free financing on any purchase, so get something special with a payment you can afford. Come celebrate Mom with fine jewelry at up to 40% off at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
Don't miss the Bari Breakdown with Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays around 3:20 for the latest in sports injuries. From all the big names in the game, who's MIA, who's coming back from injury. Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays at 3:20.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
Get ready. Welcome to Rockville is gearing up to take over the Daytona International Speedway from May 15th to 18th with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival is finally here. May 15th to the 18th in Daytona Beach. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. Select passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Tomorrow is Coors Light Thirsty Thursday and Nurses Night. Don't miss fireworks Friday and Saturday, plus beach hat giveaway on Saturday. Presented by River Point Behavioral Health and VyStar. Baseball all weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case. Plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the King of Beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security. Those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes. Nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit CoilJacks.com. COYLE Jacks.com.
Find out what new golf equipment could help your game.
I'm just a humble golf pro. Could I help you?
Get great golf tips and talk from the experts on the Edwin Watts Golf Hour.
Got to figure out why I'm still shaking the ball.
Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars today on 1010XL.
All right, hit the links with E yesterday, Tony.
Oh, yeah?
Got another convert to the great game. Still trying to, Demetrius, even though he comes in here repping with the golf shirt, says he goes on golf trips with his buddies, but just to hang out. And it actually sounded fun, man. Like you're bopping around in your own cart between groups and stuff like that.
Taking some videos, just enjoying it out there. I mean, we were in Blue Ridge a few weeks ago, and just seeing the views, all the mountains and everything, watching them try to hit the ball like pretty much up a hill straight up. It was just awesome and fun. I mean, I've done it for a few years now, and I have a blast.
Mountain golf is a different beast. There is no doubt about that, bro. No doubt about that. All right.
Down the middle.
You know what E.T. was calling me yesterday, Dylan? Mike Middleton, because I was busting it right down the fairway, brother. I mean, right down the middle. All right, let's get off of that. And let's get to...
Stop the cap.
Yeah, no cap. Jaguars draft class. You may have heard Travis Hunter's good. Oh. And he also can play defense as well as offense. So we haven't had you in since... I don't think we even had you on since then, right? Since the draft. So this is our audience's first hearing from you. I know you've given your thoughts on this, but the price they paid to get him, what is your feeling about it?
I think, and I thought about this pretty much as soon as they made the deal, that this was something that that was always going to be the cost to try to get a guy like Travis Hunter, but the value doesn't come in unless, in my opinion, he does offer some sort of something on both sides of the ball, whether that's a package on defense or a package on offense and then playing full-time at another position or playing full-time at both. I do think that you have to be able to unlock what makes him special, which to me is the ability to play on both sides of the ball at a high level. His cornerback skills are obvious. He's impressive. He's probably a better corner than wide receiver right now.
Playing the ball in the air. I mean, some of the catches and interceptions, he just plucks it.
It didn't make sense. I don't remember if he was on offense or defense on this play, but just in the corner of the end zone, the ball is coming and you're like, okay, there's no way. The defender or the wide receiver is in the way. And then all of a sudden he just comes out of nowhere and just grabs it with one hand, it seems like, and scores a touchdown. And those are the type of plays that this guy can make. There's another play where he was definitely on defense against UCF. The quarterback is throwing basically just like an outlet pass. It was going to be caught if any other corner was covering him. But instead, Travis Hunter comes from maybe 7 or 8 yards out of nowhere, just sprints and catches the interception. And that just shows off his acceleration, his burst, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, he's a special player. I didn't think the compensation was too much. I know a lot of Browns people were saying that this is a coup. The point system, whatever.
Yeah, their fans are like, yeah, we got Mason Graham.
Right. Yeah. Well, now that their draft is done, maybe they're a little bored. But I will say I like the Browns draft. Besides the 2 quarterbacks, I didn't think they had to do that. But I do think that Travis, if there was anybody in this draft that was worthy of sending sort of a godfather, and I don't even know if it was that big of a compensation.
Right. It's not like this is like 3 firsts, a couple of seconds, and a player or two here.
No,
I mean, the Jags actually moved up in the 4th, got a 6th-round pick, so that lessens a little bit of it. And, look, this is rationalizing to make myself feel better, but there are times throughout the process we had Wyatt Milam right there at 36, Tone. That if we had taken him at 36, I would have said, all right, a little bit earlier than the current board said, but not shocking.
Like with all the picks they got moved around in this year's draft, ultimately when I look at it, I say they gave up a 1st-round pick next year and a 2nd-round pick. Sure. That's essentially how I look at it. They gave up the 1st next year and a 2nd-round pick this year to go get Travis Hunter. I don't know why any team in the league that would have had the opportunity to pay that to get him wouldn't have done it, right? You don't think any of the teams in the bottom half of the 1st round would have been willing to pay that price? It would have been way higher a price if they had to move. They only had to move from 5 to 2. That's why the price was only a 1st-round pick next year and a 2nd-round pick with everything else moving around. I have no issue with the payment. We all have our questions about what's going to happen with him playing when and where and how much. Like, we all have those questions, and we have no way to answer until they get on the field.
Yeah, and I think a couple of different ways you can look at it, too, is, if you just continued watching the draft that night and you saw what the Falcons did, which is trade up and end up giving up their 1st-round pick to draft James Pierce, they're getting to pick 26 and they're trading a 1st. That's something where you might question. You're like, I don't know if we want to do all that. If you're the Falcons, maybe you don't believe in Penix or whatever the case may be. But
hey, Chris Trapasso at CBS had Pierce the number 1 player on his entire board.
Listen,
which is why Chris Trapasso's been on the show in a while.
Listen, I'm sure the guy, he's a good player. There's some off the field stuff that I
Right.
I mean, for me personally, but that doesn't really matter. The situation with the Jaguars, it to me, again, they just played the draft very well in terms of maneuvering. Like you said, they were able to move up in the 4th round, basically, for that trade. And then they moved down and they collected 2 third-round picks for the 2026 draft. So, yeah, they don't have a first-round pick next year, but they have 3 third-round picks next year now.
Right.
I know one of them is going to be super late, but the point remains they were able to recoup some value after doing that massive or, quote-unquote massive trade up to number 2, and they got Travis Hunter. They got arguably the best player in the draft. He was always going number 1 unless Cam Ward was there or unless a quarterback needy team was there. It just made sense.
So I think universally we like the Wyatt Milam pick. At least most of us do, right? But what about Caleb Ransall? That surprised me. Now, granted, I was on the air at the time. And I see it come down. He's listed as a corner. I'm like,
right.
Wait a minute. What? And obviously, he's playing safety. What did you make of that decision? And what are your thoughts on him as a player?
Yeah, similar to you. I thought, oh, wow, they're taking a corner here, I guess. And then, when he's announced sort of as a safety, you're like, okay, well, that makes sense because they need players in that defensive backfield, and not only players, they need guys who can tackle, and that's what I think. That's why they went out and signed a guy like Eric Murray because he's a sure tackler. He's not going to miss too many, I believe. He's a veteran guy.
I think Kaiser and Lane fit that more. I know Kaiser's a linebacker, but you know what I mean. Like, maybe they're not flashy. Although Lane had a lot of game-changing plays in his career, you know. So anyway, continue.
No. I mean, to your point, yeah, exactly. It's almost like they wanted to get guys who they know they would have a base level of this at least. Guys who are sure tacklers like Kaiser. Guys who are very smart intellectually, football wise. Every single player they drafted after Travis Hunter went to the Senior Bowl, and then a couple of those guys. Like their 3rd round pick, like others, they played positions that they weren't used to playing. Ransall played safety for the first time, basically, at the Senior Bowl, and so I think that they viewed that as an added bonus. They view it as a guy who's willing to do whatever it takes to get on the field. And then if you look at his actual measurables, I mean, 4'3", 40, a guy who's he can jump 40 inches. I mean, he has. Athleticism for days. He's a little bit smaller, I guess 5'11", 198 or something like that. But he's not necessarily the biggest safety or the biggest guy, but he's a sure tackler. I mean, the guy over his career, I think missed 5% of his tackles, and that was the most. Cumulatively, I think he had like a 2.2% missed tackle rate in first couple of years. So yeah, I like the pick. I thought it was smart because they need a guy in the back end of their defense that can sort of be the guy.
We all got to react to Jamal St. Cyr talking to Jarian Jones. They're about a week before the draft, right? And Jarian talking about what was happening in the building. We were discussing some of the chaos in the building earlier here in the show, but talking about what was going on in the building and him, going to him and saying, hey, I want to play outside. Can I play outside? Let me play outside. And them saying, no. You just play inside. This is where we want you right now. Mm-hmm. It sounded like it was kind of implied that, yeah, they're going to let him play outside. Well, now they draft Travis Hunter, right? So what exactly do you see? How do they get the corners that they have when Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, Travis Hunter, Jordan Lewis?
Right.
Who's being used where and when, do you think, in that secondary?
That's tough to say, if only because we don't know how they're going to use Travis Hunter just yet. The consensus early seems to be that they're going to go ahead and use him as a player who can play on offense, a few series or maybe even full time, and then kind of kick over to defense. So to me, I think maybe they won't do a rotation like they did last year. I know that sort of scares people, but I do think that they'll probably sprinkle in Jarian, sprinkle in Travis, maybe do sort of a rotation there. But I think at some point you do have to have an established guy. But yeah, I don't know. Jarian is a guy who I've always felt that was good or better in the slot than outside. Going back to his FSU days, obviously he feels differently. He feels like he can be a true outside cornerback, and I think that obviously he has the potential to do that. He has the measurables, he has all the stuff. But yeah, Travis Hunter does sort of throw a wrench in there where you would rather have Travis opposite of Tyson than probably Jarian.
We are changing the foundations of the sport itself. All right, Demetrius, I don't want you to be tied to what was capable of mere mortals in the past now that we have Travis Hunter here. All kidding aside, I could see him playing, like you don't play in like jumbo packages necessarily in offense. I could see him playing like 85% of the offense if he's healthy, and then playing red zone, 2-minute, big, close game in the fourth quarter, things like that. And maybe over time that grows as he's able to show that he can handle that level. But he's certainly going to be doing something because you're not making that move just to play him at one of those spots. Question I think Dan asked, and I asked these guys, they disagreed. It's one or the other. If you could have him be really, you could have him be really a good player at both or a great player, like league's best at one of those two positions. Do you choose league's best wide receiver, league's best corner, or just a good player at both?
I guess league's best wide receiver, and that's just because Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he needs a guy who's going to be the league's best whatever. I mean, if you have Brian Thomas, who we all believe can be a top 5 wide receiver, and then you have Travis Hunter as a top 5 wide receiver, I don't see why that would be the suggestion you wouldn't do. It would be great to have an elite corner, but what is that going to help with Trevor?
Give me a guy who's going to have the ball in his hands 90 times, man, on offense. But hey, you know what? That's not the choice they're making, right? They're obviously making a plan to use him as both, and maybe he'll be great at both, or maybe he'll be great at one and pretty good at the other, right? And which is still fantastic.
Still nuts.
Amazing. All right, I got a lot of questions here. Specific ones for you on social media. We'll get to more of the draft class as we go into the second hour. But Demetrius Harvey is with us from the Florida Times-Union. Take advantage while he's here on the Checkmate Coatings phone lines at 641-1010 or the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at that same number, or hit us up on social media with your questions there as well. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Another beautiful day, hopefully in Duval. Let's hope that rain holds off, but whatever. If you're in your car, your vehicle, you're going to have to gas up. You're doing some honeydews. You're out and about. Maybe you're headed to the golf course. Doesn't matter. Dandy's got you covered if you need quick, pick-me-up food on the go that's not just going to weigh you down, man. You want it made with the highest quality, fresh ingredients. Dandy is committed to the quality of their products. They don't settle for just good enough. They want the absolute very best, and that's what they deliver, and they keep the prices in check as well. Quite frankly, not sure how they do it, but I'm taking advantage of it. You can too, whether it's a full breakfast menu, all the classic sandwiches and subs, the light pick-me-ups like protein packs and veggie trays and fruit cups for easy eating on the go. Swing into an area gate station, head to the fresh case, and look for the Dandy label and know that that company is based right here in Jacksonville, Florida. If you're hungry in Duval, do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy and do it today.
Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
What's the deal with the show?
The 1010XL Podcast Network is now available just about everywhere you find podcasts.
I mean, I think the show's going to be a huge hit.
Search for your favorite 1010XL podcast in your platform of choice.
Hey, Jacksonville, it's Dan Hicken with a game changer. I've tested the field, and Checkmate Coatings is my new go-to for durable, jaw-dropping floor coatings. Better play, better results.
I'm Brendan from Checkmate Coatings. Our precision coatings make your floors the MVP of any space.
Slam dunk your floors at checkmatecoatings.com. Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
Hi, folks. It's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee & Kate's Glass. Those beautiful custom glass shower enclosures, maybe a new mirror, a glass tabletop. They can even replace your foggy or cracked glass without having to replace the whole window. Lee & Kate's is local. They're family-owned. They've been a part of our community since 1926. Boy, they've taken care of me, including our brand new offices at Walk Off Charities. They did a great job. I promise they'll do the same for you. Visit LeeandKatesGlass.com.
Hey, this is Coach Jason Gibson of your Jacksonville Sharks. I know the importance of a strong game plan, and that's exactly what I've got with Clay Solar Installation Partners. They did the install of the solar panels at my house, and I couldn't be happier. Lower energy bills, clean power, and a winning team that made the whole process easy. If you're looking to save money and go solar, trust the pros at Clay Solar. Call Karen at Clay Solar today and tell them that Coach Gibson sent you.
Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Jaguars today, Wednesday.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town, setting the standard in our hometown. Quality service, the best around. Coolidge is the cat that cares about your heating and about your air. Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town.
Fantastic news here. Due to overwhelming response, Beard's Diamonds extending their amazing earring and bracelet sale for Mother's Day. Hicken here. So now through Mother's Day, you can still save up to 40% off diamond earrings and diamond tennis bracelets. It's Beard's most ambitious offer ever, and response has been incredible. The corporate-owned big box stores can't touch these prices. Beard's locally owned, man. Say hi to the Lupos when you go over there. The freedom to give you pricing you deserve, highest quality diamond jewelry. Celebrate the mothers in your life with something they'll appreciate for decades to come. They also have special pricing on other Mother Day favorites, including colored gemstones, pearls, pendants, and fashion jewelry. Beard's Diamonds, your destination for making this Mother's Day truly special. Don't miss Beard's Diamonds' biggest sale ever. Up to 40% off Beard's already beatable value price. Now through Mother's Day at the Town Center. Only locally owned jeweler. It's Beard's Diamonds.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability and versatility built in, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors to get the job done right, Z Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and Sidekick utility vehicles where durability meets speed. Visit Coastal Equipment for a demo today.
Greater power for the great outdoors. Coastal Equipment.
Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL local sports update brought to you by Awaken 180. With the 221st pick in the 7th round, the Jacksonville Jaguars added center Jonah Monheim from USC. Monheim was selected as a third-team All-Big Ten in 2024 and even has experience playing both guards and tackle position. A versatile lineman to add depth and competition to the room. Monheim's former head coach at USC, Lincoln Riley, spoke on Hacker After Dark last night, believing the sky's the limit for him.
It's not even a home run. It's a grand slam. This guy's intangibles are off the chart. He'll be one of the hardest workers in the building. He'll learn that system. It's so fast. I mean, he's truly one of those guys that when you coach him, you'll say, well, I wish we had 10 more just like him. I mean, he's that kind of guy. So just a foundational, certainly was a foundational piece for us. And I think Jacksonville is going to see him very much in that same regard as time goes on.
Lincoln Riley on Hacker After Dark. It's 85 degrees at 11 o'clock. Time in temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
Adam on the Twitter platform says, don't be sad it's over, Mike. Just be grateful for all the beautiful moments in time we shared with Gabe Davis. I'm not sad either way. You know what I mean? Like, if they kept Gabe Davis, I would have rooted for him to score 10 touchdowns this year. And now that he's not here, I hope that Joshua Cephas has the camp of his life. I don't know, man. You know?
You never know.
You don't really know. All right, here's one from Tony for you, Demetrius. What changes from the new regime will address our bad third down defense? That's a pretty broad question. But how do you think they've done improving in that area potentially?
Yeah, I guess it's twofold, right? Because the third down defense is obviously predominantly dependent on the secondary. I mean, you have guys that they brought in, Jordan Lewis, obviously Travis Hunter, if he plays full-time on defense, and then you have Eric Murray, you have Tyson Campbell, who you think that will come back fully healthy. He got hurt week 1 and never really recovered too much completely, I think, throughout the year. And then obviously, with a different defensive coordinator, different style of play, different way of using guys, like Eric Armstead will move back inside. He should provide some pass rush on third down. And I thought that when they did use him inside last year, at times he was able to get there. He was able to get to the quarterback. You saw that week 1 right away, and then maybe week 12 or something after that. But, it was sort of a situation where they now have guys who are playing they should have guys who are playing in the roles that they need to. I imagine Josh Hines-Allen won't be over 280. I imagine that Trayvon Walker won't be over 290, but we'll see how they want to use those guys. I think that'll give them more speed off the edge. So, yeah, third down defense should be better.
How important was the Emmanuel Ogbah signing?
I thought I think that is a very important piece, because he's a guy who he's not going to get 10 sacks, but he'll probably get you 5 sacks in a season. And I think that having that third pass rusher, as much as the previous regime did not feel like that was a thing, it is. It's something where if you need a breather from Josh Hines-Allen, you are going to be able to put Emmanuel Ogbah out there. If you need to have Trayvon Walker move inside, you can put Emmanuel Ogbah out there, for that relief. You don't want to rely on, and nothing against Yasir Abdullah, but because of his limitations, maybe in height and leverage and things of that nature, when he's on the field, he's only rushing the passer. There's not going to be much run stopping from him. They moved him around to off-ball linebacker, arm-ball linebacker. So there's just a bunch of mitigating factors that I think that, I think that third pass rusher, somebody who can get there like an Arden Key, is smart to have.
I know I can only speak more for myself in this regard. I look at, we had the open today with Armstead and Gabe Davis on it, and we all have our laugh.
Don't forget Ronald Darby.
And Darby, like those kind of things. And I think about it, and we're letting everyone react to the Gabe Davis thing. We've heard all the fans that have been saying, can they get off this contract? Can they get rid of him? Can they move on? That kind of thing. I get it. There's a frustration level in the fan base with Gabe Davis, and to some degree, I share it. I think Eric Armstead may have been the player that frustrated me the most on the whole roster last year.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked the question I did at the top of the show. I don't even know who to be mad at about it.
Yeah.
Right? But he's the guy who's still here. And you go back and you look at the sack numbers for this football team last year. Do you remember who finished third?
Was it... Is it someone I'm not going to think of? Was it Foye or something?
No, they're here. Mason Smith.
Oh, yes. With 3 sacks. Yeah.
That was it.
What did Roy Robertson Harris have?
He wound up with 2.5.
Okay. I thought that might have been where you were going.
He was there for a long time. It took Mason until week 16 to pass him. It took so long. But that finished third on the football team in sacks. And every week when I'm watching them line Eric Armstead on the edge, I'm like, why are they doing this to themselves?
They want to stop the run.
Right? Well, they didn't do that either.
Nope.
Nothing about what they were doing was working. And I do think we talked about these things over the course of the last few weeks, and we talked about the big questions that we still have yesterday. And one of them in my 5, and I can't get it out of my head. Have they done anything or enough to improve the defensive interior? Is moving Eric Armstead back inside enough for them to get to where they need to be on that interior so they can take advantage of having Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen? I just don't know.
See, I think that's the huge question, and that's why everybody, and I think that in the pre-draft, at least for me, I can speak for myself, I did not hear something where they said, oh yeah, Jaguars, Mason Smith. It just felt natural, right? Mason Graham, sorry.
I did it all the time.
Yeah, Mason Graham, it made sense, right? I mean, you have a guy who can come in, basically replace Devon Hamilton, who's struggled. He can play 3-tech or nose. It's somebody who will be a force. It sets the foundation, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff made sense. And so when they pivoted from that, or when, we realized that we had no idea and they were going to take
the whole time.
They were going to take Travis Hunter or Genty or whoever, it wasn't going to be Mason Graham. Now you're thinking, okay, well, maybe they believe more than us, than we do in a Mason Smith. Maybe they believe more in what they can use Devon Hamilton as, and then I think that Eric Armstead going inside does play a role in that situation where they're looking at it like, we could force this and try to pick a defensive tackle in the third, at the top of the third or at the bottom of the third, wherever they were, at that point. We could take a defensive tackle who's like 7th down on our list, or we can take Ransall, who's 1st on our list right now, who we had whatever grade on him. So I think that was sort of their logic. I don't think that maybe they don't believe the interior is as desperately needed of work as we do, and so that's sort of where I'm at with it, at least.
Yeah, which we didn't know going in. We said, look, for all we know, they are intrigued by Mason Smith. Yeah. I'm intrigued by Mason Smith, right? I mean, he's got incredible athletic potential. Let's see if he can put it all together. So that takes it. Dustin had asked that, is a defensive tackle still needed? Why release Gabe Davis and take on that cap hit? We've talked about that here. Ecosystem move here. That's from Brian. Stone Cold asked a couple of, do you expect Milam to start over Cleveland? I know you expressed probably Cleveland early
I think so.
In the season. Do you think they trade ETN by the deadline? Again, how does the backfield play out? Somebody asked us about Basil Tootin, and they said basically they think they could see him. Here we go. Scott, I see Tootin as a punt and kick returner. But with all the fair catches and touchback potential, do you think he gets many reps as a running back to get his speed on the field? What do you think they look at Tootin and see, like, by 2026, what is their vision for Basil Tootin?
I think they view him as a guy who can play all 3 downs.
Can he be Bucky Irving? Is that too simplistic because he played for Liam Cohen last year?
I would have to look more at the styles and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I do think there could be a situation where he can come in and carry the ball all 3 downs. He did that at Virginia Tech. There wasn't a situation where you're wondering about can he handle the workload or anything like that, or if he can catch the ball. It's more of the fumbles, I think, during his college career that people are pointing to, and I think that's something ball security as a rookie. That's important, obviously. Tank Bigsby went through his unfortunate spell during his rookie year, although I did feel that was a little overblown. But yeah, there are things where you don't trust a guy who has that ball security issue. So to me, that could give him a little bit more of a runway to get on the field on a more full-time basis. If they do not trade Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby is also on the roster still, then, yeah, I don't see Basil Tootin as more than maybe a Dearness Johnson maybe the first year, or they had that sort of scat back type of player in 2020. I almost said his name. Start with the H. The running back 2022. Anyway, he can be a speed back, a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield and then sort of move forward from there. I don't necessarily think that it's a situation where you're going to need him to play a full-time role right away. But yeah,
Jermichael Hasty.
Yeah, exactly.
You said H, and I'm thinking Harry. Hank. Last name. I got you.
Yeah.
Got you. All right.
Yeah, Hasty. And not to say that would be his ceiling, but to me, that's the type of change of pace that you can get from a guy like him. And I do think that he's going to play a role. And I don't know how much the fair catches on the kickoffs and stuff matter.
What did you make of, all right, they're going running back. Right. And obviously they want speed, but they're different style running backs. But one pick ahead of Cam Scatteraboo. Mm-hmm. And about a half round ahead of Dylan Sampson, who went right at what the Jags' previous 4th-round pick was. Compared to those guys, I mean, they have the right to see the vision the way they want. But did that surprise you that was the name if they were going running back at that spot?
It didn't surprise. It's kind of hard because I felt like all those guys were kind of viewed similarly, at least from the consensus boards and things of that nature. I'm not going to sit here and say I've grinded the tape of every single running back that was draft eligible. So I don't necessarily know if Tootin's the right pick over a Scatterbo or anything like that. But I do think that was the range. It's not like. For instance, last year they drafted Keelan Robinson, who, by all accounts, was a priority free agent. Consensus board had him going, undrafted. There was not very much production at all at Texas as a running back. He was purely a kick returner. At that point it was a reach, and then it didn't work out. But this is a real, true. Every down running back who can get on the field earlier than a guy like Keelan Robinson.
Some people I've heard say, I mean, he's a little small, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's listed here at 5'11", 209. I see on CBS. I don't know if that, we understand these things are not always exactly specific. But again, to compare him to Bucky Irving, who Liam Cohen had in Tampa last year and used to great effect, 5'10", 195. So definitely a stouter, thicker guy.
I mean, ETN's just 5'10", 215.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's 6 pounds, right? Now, but ETN also, Tone, people look and say, is he built to, run guy? He's not built to run guy. You better be able to make guys miss, and that's what we're counting on, obviously, with Bajal Tootin.
Yeah. I mean, they got one run-you-over guy right, in the backfield. They got one of those guys, and that's Tank Bigsby, and he's the one with the most fumbling problems.
They all got issues.
Right? Like, they all have it to some degree, but he's got them more than others, it would seem, at least to this point. So that's concerning, but I don't know how much they truly value that.
Yeah.
Right. And whoever the running back is going to be, and I don't think we can know what the answer to that is. That we talked yesterday about all the production, right, with Baker Mayfield in the red zone, on goal line, all that production. Well, that's because they weren't relying on the run game to fix it, right? Like we got to finish it by running the ball. They said, throw it. This is where the power of our offense is. Throw it. Baker, go throw it, right? So they add Travis Hunter. They have BTJ. Like there are reasons to look at it and say, I can understand why if they get down to that part of the field, they don't say we got to run it. They say, we're going to let our guy do it, right? Like that's kind of where I feel it's leaning, at least at this point in the process.
Yeah, I can see that because, it is a situation where they're trying to improve the pass game as much as possible with the addition of Travis Hunter, obviously, and then they expect growth from Brian Thomas. But I do think that this could be a little different in the sense of they really put an emphasis from day one on addressing the run game. They went out, they signed Patrick McCarry, they signed Robert Hainsey, they went out and they drafted Wyatt Milliam, who we've talked about. They've sort of set or solidified their offensive line. They even drafted another offensive lineman later who could play center potentially. And then they drafted 2 running backs. So really they're investing heavily in the run game, in being able to sort of get up the field that way. And if you look at Tootin, I'm not sure exactly what the stats are, but I don't believe that he was brought down right away. I think that he was a guy, I'm pretty sure after Genty, he might have been the best one at breaking tackles or getting
contact balance
after contact, the yards after contact. I remember seeing some stat like that. So this isn't necessarily a guy who's just a scat back. I don't think he's an ETN by any means. I think that he can run between the tackles. I think that we have seen that. I mean, if you look at his highlights or just his regular tape, he has done that. He can catch the ball. And then he has speed. Obviously 4.32 is blazing speed. I think that was the fastest running back at the combine. And so I think they view him as a home run hitter, a potential home run hitter, a guy who can go between the tackles. He can be a 3-down back eventually.
If we ever block it up, Tone, we're going to have a bunch of 60-yard touchdowns this season, I think, here in Jacksonville. All right, Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union is with us for a couple more segments as we continue along. Send us your Jaguars questions for Big Meech here on Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. 1010XL. We like sunny skies and sandy beaches, too. That's why we are Jacksonville Sports Radio. 1010XL.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
This Mother's Day, be direct. Tell Mom she shines without saying a word. At Diamonds Direct, we've curated a meaningful collection of timeless gifts for every budget, from birthstone rings and stackables to diamond pendants, pearls, and stunning earrings. So here's to Mom for her love, her strength, and always putting others first. This year, she deserves a gift that lasts a lifetime, and that's our specialty. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
Remember Mom this Mother's Day with a beautiful floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers. JJ here with 1010XL, and there's no excuse for a last-minute thing when you can simply call Kuhn Flowers or go online to kuhnflowers.com.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday on Jaguars Today. Awaken 180 Weight Loss, your long-term solution for weight loss.
The NBA playoffs Playoffs are here, and there's no better place to catch the action than Hurricane Grill and Wings. With slam dunk specials like $3.75 Miller Lite drafts, plus fresh, never frozen wings in over 30 flavors, and big screens everywhere. This is your home for all the games. Handcrafted cocktails, bold flavors, big plays. Don't just watch the games, experience them at Hurricane Grill and Wings. Find your spot at hurricanewings.com.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Now's the perfect time to order logo coffee mugs or maybe a logoed Sick brand tumbler. They're seriously ice cold and look great with your company logo. Hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all. 1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Well, Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
Living on Amelia Island, having fun in Fernandina Beach? No matter what brings you to the fun, cozy town, make sure you check out the tap room at Mocama Beer Company. With a full flight of craft creations, from the Cosmico IPA to the Motor, the perfect Pilsners and lagers, matching memories and some Mocama magic is what it's all about. Mocama Beer Company in Fernandina Beach, near the big water where the sun is born. And look for more Mocama craft at your local Total Wine or ABC Liquors.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women.
With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
How many schools are there in the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, and the Pac-12?
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
There are 16 teams in the Big 12, 18 in the Big 10, 16 in the SEC, but only 2 teams remain in the Pac-12.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. With the weather starting to turn for the better, look ahead. Get that backyard ready for spring with a new screened-in enclosure. Maximize the space you have and make it great with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. They truly are best in the business. If you have the space and the idea, give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Join us at Miller Electric May 29th from 4 to 7 p.m. We're on the lookout for talented people, from entry-level to experienced electricians and foremen, security system installation and service technicians, fire alarm system service technicians, and both senior and junior VDV technicians. This is your chance to get hired on the spot. Meet the managers, indulge in delicious food, and snag some awesome giveaways. Don't miss out on this electrifying chance to power up your career. Miller Electric, May 29th, 4 to 7 p.m., 6805 South Point Parkway.
Leon Searcy here. Let's be real. I used to eat like a lineman because I was one. And man, those habits are hard to break. I needed help to stop with the munchies and lose weight. But now, I'm bringing sexy back. I call Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their medical team is helping me shed pounds safely with a custom plan to help me slim down. And their firm pricing means same price every month. Hey, you want to bring sexy back? Visit Physician Guided Weight Loss at pgweightloss.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
All right, continue along with Demetrius Harvey from the Florida Times Union. By the way, I have not followed the succession plan. Do we know who's the next columnist at the Florida Times-Union?
We do not know that yet.
Closely held secret.
It's a closely held secret. We'll see.
All right. Just checking, see if your man Gene Fournette stepped down. We'll have you back in another 40 years as well. Or Dylan's grandson will. Ain't going to be us, brother. Ain't going to be us. All right. Tony, why don't you take us on a look around the National Football League, please?
Now, gems around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Pittsburgh and Dallas are finalizing a trade that will be sending wide receiver George Pickens to the Cowboys in exchange for a third-round pick and some late picks being shuffled between the two teams. Cincinnati's B.J. Hill, who has re-signed by the Bengals earlier this offseason on a 3-year deal, was seen in a walking boot during a voluntary workout on Tuesday there in Cincinnati. And Green Bay wide receiver Christian Watson, who suffered a torn ACL in January, told Fox 11 that his rehab is going really well, that he's in a really good spot, also saying that he has several months of rehab, obviously, still ahead of him before he can get back on the field.
All right, got this one on the text line. Good morning, Mike, Tony, Demetrius, Dylan, the whole crew here. Absolutely love the show. Well, that's why we're reading it. I'm kidding. Partially. I had to share this quick story with you, though. Okay, I'm a real estate agent here in Jacksonville, and I have out-of-town buyers from Argentina. And they told me this morning that their son in Argentina had to have them ask me about Travis Hunter.
Yep.
That just goes to show how much Hunter hype really is around and what we drafted number 2 this year, all the way from Argentina. Absolutely crazy. Jacksonville about to be in the mainstream for a while. Go Jags.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this actually in the media room over the draft weekend, and I think we all have a consensus that Travis Hunter is and this might sound shocking, he's more of the face of the franchise.
Face of the franchise.
More of the face of the franchise than Trevor Lawrence. And you would think obviously that Trevor is, the number 1 pick. He was the golden child. Everybody thought that he was going to be generational, and he still could be good to great. But Travis Hunter presents, it's not even about football really. It's more about just his global
star
influence.
Power.
It's the star power. He's on YouTube. He's on Twitch. He's on all the different Gen Z things. He's on all the different millennial. Like he embodies what the modern athlete I think is. The podcasts, all the interactions. He's out there. I don't know if you guys saw, but during his press conference, he brought in his whole crew was there to film his press conference, to film his introduction to James Gladstone. That he ended up posting a video where you could see him meet all of them. And
that YouTube video was unbelievable.
That's going to be a consistent thing
for a guy though who could be these things. He's not entitled. No. He's not surly. He's not aloof. He's not get away from me. He's seemingly so open and gregarious and genuine that kids are going to be, Travis Hunter is going to be like a lightning rod, it's going to be unbelievable. And look, I said it yesterday, Tony, I've discussed this, and I know you and your cohorts there have as well, Demetrius, that nationally, Travis Hunter's the face of the franchise. He's the story. Yes. He's going to be the reason people talk about Duval County. But we know locally, and while we're all caught up in Travis Hunter hype, why wouldn't we be? Trevor Lawrence is the most important story at least for the next several years, and there's no question about it. And maybe this takes a little bit of this isn't Trevor's team to carry all on his shoulders kind of thing, and maybe could even help him a little bit.
I mean, absolutely. In terms of the off the field stuff or anything, I mean, you won't. And this is kind of funny, like the Trevor Bankfield stuff. I mean, you don't need to do any of that, in my opinion. You really don't. I mean, if I was Trevor, I wouldn't have done that last year. But it's a situation where Trevor doesn't have to live up to any sort of golden glory. He doesn't have to be the only guy that fans or anybody cares about. He doesn't have to be the guy that everybody just writes about every week just to write about him. Now Travis Hunter can kind of be that guy, and it is good to sort of share the spotlight. I do think that there are times where Trevor could maybe have the spotlight too bright on him, and that could be a call for concern. But at the same time, I think that any quarterback or anybody dealing in that circumstances under that much pressure with this little help would fall under that.
And let's be clear, Trevor's no shrinking violet, right? He's like a low-key guy, but he's been in the spotlight sports-wise for a long, long time, right? Anticipated superstar, wins the national championship as a freshman, anticipated future number 1 overall pick, all that. So it's not like he hasn't dealt with this before.
I don't think he's uncomfortable in it at all, right? And I don't think you could have watched him that rookie year and ever got the sense that he was uncomfortable, right? With whatever was going to happen. He's going to be okay. When the spotlight finds him, he's going to be okay, right? And those kind of moments. But it's not like, why is the spotlight over there? I'm right here. Like, Trevor's never been that guy either. So Hunter comes in and takes some of that. He's going to be like, good for him. Like, that's the way Trevor's going to deal with it. And when it comes back to him, he's going to be like, yeah, guys, what do you have to ask?
Yep.
You know, like, that's Trevor's attitude about they kind of mirror each other in that way, right? Where it's not like either of them are like, over here, over here, over here, over here. But the spotlight's going to find you. When you do what those two guys do, the spotlight's going to find you. And Hunter in a different way, because it's like we found a unicorn. He's walking among us, right? Like, that's how the whole world is reacting to the talents that Hunter brings. So, yeah, it's going to draw a lot of attention from a lot of places well outside of Jacksonville.
Yeah. And, well, just real quick, like, this is a guy who kind of similarly to Trevor, entered the high school and recruiting and all that kind of stuff the last 2 years of his high school career. He was a top recruit. He was nationally number 1. He was going to FSU. Like, everybody had this, sort of spotlight on him from the get-go. He was the guy who could play both sides of the ball, all that good stuff. And then he ends up going to Jackson State. And that brings a lot of influence. That brings a lot of notoriety. Then Deion Sanders comes in, or Deion Sanders was already there. It brings a lot of attention. Then he goes to Colorado, completely flips that program, arguably, along with Deion and all the other players. So he's a guy that has transformed all of these different programs. And I think that he's also a guy that seeing that he did go to Jackson State, throw out NIL and all that other stuff. He could have got that at FSU if he wanted it. Going to Jackson State, seeing that he's just a guy who wants to compete, he wants to play football, and he talks about it. All he does is football, fish, and game. I mean, and I haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise. So the guy is a complete pro. He comes in, he's 21 years old, seems like a professional. I mean, it's just impressive.
On the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures to show the difference, the Jaguars posted a YouTube video featuring Travis Hunter, has 100,000 views. Travis Hunter video of what you're talking about, all the Jaguar stuff, has over 2 million views, right? So he will draw eyes, right? He's his own media outlet, and as are many young people these days. Byron in Gainesville, I don't know if he's his own media outlet, but we love him around these parts. Byron, good morning.
Hey, Jack, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Who you talking to there, Byron? Tell them you're going on Jaguars today. They need to pipe down, man. Come on.
Pipe down.
What's up, man?
Real quick, guys. My man can tell you, I sung a little with a gospel group up in Jacksonville in places, but Gene, I don't want to follow his act, and I definitely don't want to follow Travis Hunter, man. But, great hype, man. Argentina, shout out to you guys. It's going to be on. And I want to say this real quick, guys, and get off here. I'm a big college fan of all Florida teams. And the one thing I can tell you that's consistent is when they can't run the ball and just rely on a passing game, they don't win. The Jags had the closest, I think the most 7 or less point losses this year, probably a record, meaning the defense wasn't that bad. The offense just needed to make a play, maybe run the ball, and kill some clock. So, guys, I think the defense can be plugged up. And I'm going to do a shout-out to the NBA. Go back to running the ball. And please, Boston, stop shooting threes all the time.
No, keep missing them, Byron. Keep missing threes, Byron. I liked you until that. Gotta go now. Gotta go, Byron. Don't be putting the bad mojo on me. Hey, we'll see how it all plays out. Byron's just an enthusiastic guy. He's always looking on the bright side. But I think the defense had plenty of flaws.
There was enough blame to go around. You don't have to keep it on one.
But I mean, to the larger point, a little improvement here, a little improvement there. 10-1 score losses can turn into maybe 6-4 in those games, something like that, or 5-5.
Well, and I think to what I was talking about earlier with I feel like they're going to tilt more towards throwing when it comes to scoring. Like, that's just my sense of what they're going to do. And I think they're going to be able to be effective doing that because they're going to run the ball better. Right? Like, I think that's the dividends for when we have 3rd and 1 and we hand it off, we know we're getting the yard. Right? That's an attitude thing. And they just haven't had that attitude now for a number of years. I think that the dividends of that is we want the ball in Trevor Lawrence's hands.
Right.
Like, that's the payoff, is our quarterback gets to be in charge when we get in these big situations. In the clutch situation, this is what we want. And we run the ball well enough that they have to respect that we could if we wanted to. So we have to defend you that way.
Absolutely. I mean, and you don't go out and get a guy like Travis Hunter unless you feel strongly that you can have this passing game and you can have Trevor Lawrence take advantage of these guys. You don't go out and get a De'Ami Brown, no matter his production that was with Washington. They gave him a 1-year, $10 million contract. You know, it was the same as Tutu Atwell. And so I feel like they view him as a deep threat, a guy who can go down and actually score points or help the team score points. And I think that we've seen this said, and it's sort of a cliche, but they say, throw to score, run to win. And I think Doug Peterson said that. But I do think that that's a standard that all, offensive coaches sort of hold in the NFL. You run to win the game because you're able to chew up the clock. You're able to score in the red zone, even if you decide to pass more in the red zone, but you still need that. You still need that running game, and then you pass to score because that's how you can score quickly. You have that 55-yard strike for a touchdown. It hasn't been the case necessarily over the last however many years that running backs are just scoring all the time. It's more of a passing game now. I do think that there is some truth to that. Absolutely.
If you have a game during a given week where one or the other team has that 55-yard touchdown, that's generally the team that won that game.
Yep.
Right? Generally, not always, but generally the team that had that one explosive play, sometimes that's enough in a league that really is designed to be one score.
It can flip the script. I mean, we saw it week 1 immediately. The Dolphins, the Jaguars go down the field. They're about to score. They're about to win, in my opinion. And then they fumbled, then 80-yard touchdown.
2 plays wrecked the season. 2 plays
done.
It feels like, it's so silly to say, but it felt like a 17-point lead. You're going to bury them at that point if you go in and score there. And it just still winning, by the way, after the 80-yard touchdown. Still winning the game.
But mentally.
At that point. Mentally done.
Yep.
Season over. All right. Demetrius Harvey is here. Show is not over. We'll put to Demetrius what we think is the most important question of the offseason and maybe even many seasons to come when we return in a moment. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Take the low line and make a slide job to the front row.
Right around the bottom, all the way through turn 1 and 2.
Sunday at Kansas, NASCAR is tuned up by Maxie's Mechanics on 1010XL.
What does your dream backyard look like? Hey, it's Joe C. and my friends at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Visit cssoutdoor.com.
Pizza to tea here, and Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes through in the clutch? From lunch to late night, only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Stick around after the sunset, and Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late-night bites. Come on, somebody.
The Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa is the perfect place for indulging in a pampering spa treatment. This Mother's Day season, give the gift of wellness with a gift card and take advantage of the spa's current promotion. Buy a $75 gift card or more and guests get a credit towards a future service. With healing massages, revitalizing facial treatments, and more, a day at the Sawgrass Spa makes a perfect gift for everyone. Purchase in person at Sawgrass Spa during operating hours.
It's a Weight Loss Wednesday
On Jaguars Today.
Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jason, I don't see how a new air conditioner is going to work out for me.
Well, you like air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. But a new air conditioner could be expensive.
Well, not if you...
I mean, to save up the money, I probably have to give up my extra hot skim latte every morning. Now I fall asleep during a staff meeting, get volunteered for the summer picnic committee, and end up sitting in the dunk tank all afternoon getting water up my nose.
Okay, look at it this way. Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Bueller Air and Plumbing puts in a new AC. We hook you up with affordable financing, and you stay cool and comfortable for just $149 a month. Cool?
Cool. I see it now.
Life can be hard on your budget. If you suffer through the heat because of a broken AC you could totally afford to replace, you could visit.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Your yard starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
All aboard! The Combine, Free Agency, the Draft. Here we go! Ride the offseason like a locomotive with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
Might want to buckle up, baby.
AA Automotive on Richard Street. Family run since 1954.
It's ET here, and did you know that slow speed accidents can still cause serious injuries? Ignoring minor pain today can mean big problems tomorrow. Don't wait. Call my guys at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center, the auto accident experts.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Hey, Hicken here. So much of what makes us a family takes place in our homes. That's where Zero Res comes in. I love Zero Res, and this month get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet and air duct cleaner with May Mayhem. A 3-room special starting at $149, plus the 4th room is free. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res 28757 or go online at ZeroResJacksonville.com and say you want the Hicken Special. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood Jewelers. Clayton, you have told us about buying better quality diamonds, but is there any way to start with a smaller diamond and use it to trade up to a larger diamond later on?
Frank, it's interesting you'd ask that because our founder, H.F. Underwood, popularized growing your diamond here in Jacksonville about 50 years ago, and it's something we still do today. When a customer buys an Underwood engagement ring or solitaire diamond pendant or a pair of ear studs, we guarantee they get the price they paid for it on the purchase of any larger diamond. Now, a lot of stores would say, big deal. We do that too, but here's the Underwood difference. We guarantee you get what you paid when you trade in your Underwood diamond, even if you're trading up by only $1. It's not that you have to trade up 2 for 1 like most jewelers ask. There have been literally thousands of people in the Jacksonville area who have taken advantage of our policy, and Underwood still grows a lot of diamonds for a lot of people.
Underwood's, serving excellence since 1928. In San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Jacksonville, Hickens calling it. Checkmate Coating, my MVP. Tough, slick floors that dominate any space.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
Hacker here with an opportunity. Drop 40 pounds by the 4th. You can do it. I dropped my first 40 in 6 weeks. Hayes did it, Dempsey, Ballou, and thousands of others have done it. 40 by the 4th. With Awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since '87.
By the way, you can listen to Hacker's interview with Lincoln Riley on demand on any of the 1010XL platforms. Lincoln Riley said about Jonah Monheim, Tony, not just a home run, a grand slam in the 7th round for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So waiting for the first coach to come on and go, man, I'm glad that guy left.
Yeah, he's
we had to get him out of the program quickly. They were talking about it this morning. George O'Leary didn't exactly give the full-throated endorsement. He basically, I felt like that was more of a pre-draft thing with Blake Bortles, right? Like where he was like, yeah, he shouldn't have come out, right? Like he did say that. And so I don't recall him necessarily doing it post-draft, but maybe he did at the time.
And it kind of made sense if you think about it. Back then, Blake was pretty raw. And
bro, we always want,
don't care.
You know, we kill them when they don't tell us the story, and then we kill them when they give us the honesty. You know, it's a funny thing. All right, let's get to today's 10-10 take. Dylan.
10-10.
10-10 take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 Take is serviced by Ideal Conditions Heating and Air, your go-to local HVAC company. Veteran-owned and operated.
I said yesterday among the most burning questions, there are a lot of them, right? How are they going to use Travis Hunter? Have they fixed the O-line? The most important question for this franchise, we've already remarked upon it this morning, Demetrius, is the future of Trevor Lawrence. What is he going to do with all these weapons? You got Liam Cohen. You've got what you hope is an improved offensive line, at least, 4 potential guys in free agency in the draft that they've added there. You've beefed up the running back position. You've got a new weapon, and you got the Bolitnikoff Award winner, for goodness sakes, to go along with Brian Thomas Jr. So what should we reasonably expect? And I'm not asking you necessarily to give me a statistical prediction for Trevor, but to me, the way I answer it is this needs to be clearly the best season of Trevor's career this year. I don't know what numbers that will mean, but that's how I want to have to feel about it, or should feel about it at the end of the season.
I think from their plan and what they want to do, the best thing that you could, or not the best, but what you need to expect from Trevor Lawrence this year is consistency. That's something that he hasn't necessarily had. He hasn't been the most consistent passer. He obviously hasn't been able to stay healthy over the last couple of years. So what you should expect is, by what they've done, which is surround him with better talent at wide receiver, surround him with a better offensive line, presumably. Then at that point you have a more protected Trevor, so that means he's not going to get hurt as much. They're going to try to protect him from himself, I'm sure. They're going to tell him to run out of bounds and not just straight up the field. Different things like that to make sure he stays healthy. He understands too that that's a priority. So yeah, consistency, just sort of looking like a quarterback that you can rely on.
Yeah, protect yourself, but they didn't shy away from running Baker last year.
Sure.
Especially as the year went on, it was like, oh, Baker's got a little wiggle to his game, and at least a willingness to do it. He ran for 3 touchdowns last year. I'm not saying that's the difference between going to the playoffs or not necessarily, but it is something that Trevor is capable of doing for this football team.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, we've seen Trevor do that. I mean, in the playoffs, we saw him do it even last year. I mean, even against the Eagles when he got hurt. I mean, that was all. That's Trevor. That's what he's going to do. You can't take that completely away from him. We saw it against Kansas City in the playoffs that one year. He just ran over the defensive back. I mean, that's a playoff game, a little bit different circumstances, but the same mentality remains. So yeah, I mean, you're not going to limit him completely because you do want to take advantage of his athleticism. But at the same time, you do know that he has been injured a lot over the last couple of years. So you do want to limit him in that way, in my opinion. Just protect him a bit. And that's been the entire message throughout the whole offseason, is protecting Trevor Lawrence, setting the dish, and then giving him reliable weapons outside.
Somebody asked Seth Hennigan, undrafted free agent quarterback, is he the only arm they'll have available this weekend?
They could bring in a guy for a workout or a tryout. I think they've done that in years past, where they'll have one extra arm as a tryout, and we'll find that out on Saturday.
All right, I'm bringing up you. You do now have a 53-man projection, right? Is that correct?
It's a 50. I think it's a 50. It's a 51. I talked about this. Listen. Travis Hunter, he changes things. Okay, guys. He's. I've never done it where I put the guy in 2 different position groups. And then I just messed up. I guess I just didn't have somebody on the roster.
Come on, bro. If I don't bring up somebody's mistakes, I'm certainly not going to bring up my own. But
yeah.
How do you see? Let me ask you about the offensive line. Yeah. How do you see this numbers game playing out? Because you've got to presume anybody they sign in free agency has a great chance to make the final roster, right? And Fred Johnson, Chuma Edoga as versatile backup tackles. They drafted Milam and Hainsey. You've got, they drafted Milam and Monheim. They signed Hainsey. They signed Makari. Not much room. Brought back Van Lanen, right? Does Luke Fortner make this team?
See, that's the one where I think that because of their center that they drafted, I just can't see a situation where Luke is retained unless they feel like he can offer some value at guard and sort of run it that way, because it just would be hard. It would just be hard from a numbers perspective to be like, okay, yeah, we're going to keep 3 pretty much pure centers on the roster. And you don't do that. Teams just don't do that. So, yeah, I think it's an uphill battle for Luke Fortner, and I guess we'll see.
Javon Foster,
Yeah.
I mean, right. Cooper Hodges, those guys.
Cooper Hodges, he's a guy that 2 years ago we're all like, yeah, he's starting at right guard. As soon as Sheriff is done, he's going right in. I mean, and then no, because he's gotten 2 serious knee injuries or leg injuries in back-to-back years. One in the preseason, and obviously one. I forgot who that was against. Actually, maybe the Eagles later.
Yeah, he got hurt against the Eagles.
Was it the Eagles? Okay, good. Yeah, so yeah, that's a situation where you can't rely on Cooper Hodges this year. Not to say that he should not get a shot, but if you're looking at it from a numbers perspective now, I mean, how can you project him being on the roster? So yeah, about 9 players, maybe 10. I went and looked back at the Rams and how they sort of did things. 9 seems to be the status quo over there, and I just kind of carried it over.
Yeah, when you're not the starting center for an NFL team, you better be able to play more than one position, right? Like that's just a minimum. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to play more than one position. And when they played Fortner at guard last year, the little bit they did, it was like, uh-oh. Like every time that he was in those kind of positions, we've had a couple people ask on the text line, still reacting obviously to Gabe Davis being let go. Do you think the team will have any interest in bringing in another veteran to that room? And what level? I know Amari Cooper is still available. Keelan Allen is still available, but I doubt they're going to be hunting in those.
They're not going to be top 3 here.
Right.
On the depth
so
chart.
it's going to be someone much lower, in that kind of regard. But do you think they'd have any interest in bringing a veteran just to have a veteran presence?
I don't know. I don't think so, actually. And I think the reason I feel that way is just because their philosophy seems to be, and they've said this, where they don't want a veteran to stand in the way.
Said it about DN before the draft.
So they feel that way.
Edge.
It's not just about edge. They feel that way on all levels, within reason. So to me, bringing in, I mean, it would have just been like last year. Remember Jarvis Landry was coming in and everyone was excited. It's like, but at the end of the day, why? He doesn't play special teams. He's a older veteran, hadn't played in a year and a half or whatever it was, and it just didn't make sense when you really think about it. Yeah, he's a veteran, but what does that mean? And so I don't think that just because Gabe Davis is off the roster now, they have to fill that spot. I think that they're just going to try to see what the younger guys can do. And they do have 5 guys, I think right now, or 4 at least, where they can go into the season saying, okay, this is good. So, yeah, I don't think that there's anybody necessarily out. I think Cooper would want to be a 1 or 2 at least. So it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Pittsburgh now a team to watch for a veteran after trading away George Pickens, or at least trying to finish the details to get that done with the Dallas Cowboys. Fair point here. On the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosure, they mentioned they added the Blitnikoff Award winner. Well, D.D. Westbrook won the Blitnikoff Award as well.
Fair.
However, D.D. Westbrook, the NFL showed you, wasn't valued the same way. He went in the 4th round, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas, obviously, Travis Hunter was talked about the best non-quarter, or the best player, along with Abdul Carter, but the highest non-quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, of course, awards aren't everything. I mean, but the guy did win the Heisman. Then he also won the other award for the best defensive player. So I mean, one of those things are gonna work out for him, in my opinion. It would be very shocking to see Travis Hunter just not be able to do anything.
Oh.
So I don't really think too much about that. D.D. Westbrook. I mean, if you look at what he was an undersized guy who just didn't really fit in the NFL too much. And once his time was up, his time was up. So
an injury ended it.
And and he just wasn't otherworldly athletically or anything like that either.
I mean, that's people are bringing up, and again, fair point. The guys in the NFL are in the NFL for a reason. They're the cream of the crop, but not going to be able to get away with that. The punishment from these guys. Travis Hunter doesn't get punished. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's that type of receiver that people are more for, I'm going to wrap him up, because if I don't, and if I try to blow him up, he's just going to sidestep, make me miss, and I'll be a highlight for the wrong reason.
Ocho Cinco was the same way. I mean, if you remember watching him with the Bengals, I mean, the guy was shifty as all get out, and he was fast and quick, and people were not running him over because he was a smaller guy in terms of weight, too.
Yeah.
So, if anybody was going to get hurt a lot, it was him, and he never really got hurt. So, I do think that there's validity to that.
Certain guys, and again, all it takes is one, but that could happen in college if a 250-pounder catches you the wrong way as well. So what do you got cooking? What do you got?
Just to put it out there, they're telling us now Gabe Davis was a post-June 1st release. So that will save the team some cap space this
about
year.
$800,000 this
and then
year,
it'll push it down to the next, few seasons, I think. But yeah, as far as coming up, we're just getting full started on, all the post-draft content you can want. Today, I posted something about, what players can sort of start this year, what players will earn a lot of playing time. I didn't go through the entire draft class, but I think that, maybe 3 or 4 players are going to be able to get a lot of time, their first 3 or 4 picks. And then, obviously moving forward, I'm going to be following Travis Hunter like everybody else will, but I'm going to try to do tracking him minute for minute and figuring out exactly what they want and exactly what they do on the first day.
How they're spending their time.
Exactly right. And so that'll be on Jacksonville.com. And yeah, that's what you guys can expect.
I expect to see him simultaneously go out for routes and cover himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, he's that good, right? Come on. We kid, sort of, I think. Let's hope. If anybody could do it, it's you, Travis. All right. Look forward to seeing him on Saturday. Our time with Demetrius Harvey is coming to a close, so let's say hello to Helmets and Heels.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
All right. Taylor Dahl is with us. Hello.
Hello, guys.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
We're just fantastic. Gabe Davis, we hardly knew you.
Yeah.
I mean,
feel like we didn't even really get to know him at all.
I do feel, tell me if you agree or not, he's going to find a landing spot, and he's going to be a lot closer to the Buffalo Bills guy than he was here last year. He's still only 26 years old.
Yeah, it's very odd, and I tweeted it just saying I don't know if we'll fully ever understand what happened with that here. Did he just not care a ton? Was there just not enough time for him to really start to click with Trevor? And then when he did, everyone's getting hurt, and how much did that factor in, including himself? Because when you go back, and this was one signing I was very wrong about, because when they signed Gabe Davis, I was excited, and you went back to see the numbers, and I tweeted some of the stats when it came to the target share, which wasn't as high as a lot of the receivers in the league, but when it came to the red zone touchdowns and all of the little tiny statistical numbers that kind of added up to him being a scoring weapon in Buffalo, just didn't transfer here at all. And even when it came to the catch percentage, it was something that he never struggled with whatsoever in Buffalo, and all of a sudden couldn't catch here, and it's very odd.
All right, well, that chapter has come to a close for the Jaguars, and they keep ripping Band-Aids off left and right, but that's what they're doing. They're trying to start fresh.
Yeah.
So what's coming up today?
Yeah, we have, we will get into that a little bit. We also are going around college football a little bit and talking to a lot of the local schools. So we talked yesterday chatted some Miami Hurricanes. Today we're doing Florida State. So we have Irish O'Fell coming on to chat with us about that. We also have Brooke Pryor from Pittsburgh coming on to talk about this George Pickens trade, what that means for them, what that means. Are we going to see Aaron Rodgers there in Pittsburgh, or what that situation looks like? So just a little bit more intel on the situation up there, which seems a little strange.
For years, Ira Schofel has been coming on the station for a long time, right? And when he first started coming on, I thought his name was Irish O'Fell.
I honestly, for so long, was calling him
Irish guy.
Irish O'Fell.
Irish O'Fell coming on the program.
I, for a long time, thought this is a different person, but thinking of getting names wrong, Eric Bieniemy, forever, I thought people were calling him Eric the Enemy.
Eric the Enemy.
I was like, what did this man do to so many people?
We hate this guy. All right. Taylor, have a great show.
Thank you.
There you go. Nobody hates Taylor Dahl. All right. Demetrius Harvey, nobody hates you either. At least I don't know any that do, and maybe they do. Plenty. Yeah, I'm sure there are, right? If you do your job at all well, you probably have some of that. You can find Demetrius in the pages of the Florida Times-Union and on social media at Demetrius82, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up with you maybe sometime after the rookie minicamp and get your impressions, but we'll see you out there Saturday.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys for having me on again.
All right, buddy. Good to have you in studio. Thanks for taking the time with us. For Tony Smith, for Demetrius, and for Dylan Denmark, I'm Mike Dempsey. Appreciate you listening to Jaguars Today. Back at it again tomorrow from 10 to noon here on 1010 XL and 92.